Let's bring in W.L. Ross and Company Chairman and Trump campaign economic advisor Wilbur Ross is here.
Good morning
to you. So what did you make of that back and forth and the attacks on each other on Trump and Hillary?
I think the idea of Associated Press somehow ganging up on Hillary Clinton is quite absurd.
Right.
I mean, it's just silly. But as to the donors, given the secrecy that she put on her donors, they must be the shyest donors in the world. Normally, big donors want their name on a building, they want their name in the paper, they want a board seat. These guys wanted to hide that they were giving donations. If everything was on the up and up, why did they launder it through this Canadian secret foundation that didn't disclose the donors?
Yeah, and that continues to be the question. Why, Julie, would they have to announce that if Hillary Clinton becomes president, that they will no longer accept foreign donations? If everything was on the up and up, everything was good.
I'm not defending the foundation. I'm not defending her involvement in the foundation, or I should say her husband's involvement in the foundation after he became.
Just by the way, why don't you defend it?
Well, because obviously this has an opportunity for a conflict of interest, as we see, and it turns out.
So what does that say about her judgment?
Her judgment is her judgment on this. Look, but I keep saying, sir, you're the economic advisor to Donald Trump, and what I would love to hear from you. You had the national, I think they're called the National Association for Business Economists. Over 400 people polled, and they said Donald Trump's economic plan would be a disaster for the economy, worse than Gary Johnson's even.
Well,
and they're worried about immigration.
Wrong. If you would tell me the specific things they don't like, I'd be glad to address them.
Sure, they're worried about his immigration stance. They think we need more high-skilled immigrants. That they feel like Donald Trump would prevent any immigration from coming here.
Well, that's not what he said.
But
he didn't say he would prevent any immigrants from coming here.
Well, he's basically saying that listen, on a daily basis.
What he's saying is he's not going to let people come in if we can't vet them properly and be sure they're not here to do harm. That's not the same as saying he won't let people in.
He has said he would prevent people from coming here from countries that have experienced terrorism. That could be places like...
He said until we have a proper system for vetting them.
But that's
So let's talk about Donald Trump's economic plan, because you are shedding some light on it. And there has been some criticism of Donald Trump's plan. And here we are, we're looking at this dismal growth situation in the United States right now. As somebody who is advising Donald Trump, he says he's going to lower taxes, he's going to address regulations that have stifled business. We know all that. But what kind of growth would his plan actually stimulate in this country?
Well, remember that one of the linchpins of his plan is to improve our balance of trade. We right now have about 3 percentage points taken off our gross domestic product because of our trade deficit. All he has to do is get half of that back, and you've doubled the rate of growth of the economy.
So you've talked about a look-back period, too. So when we do have these trade agreements, there would be a look-back to see if the deal is working out as we negotiate.
No, that's what we're proposing.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, correct.
There isn't a single trade agreement enforced, none of the ones that Hillary Clinton supported. And interestingly, in her speech in Syracuse yesterday, she claimed that she's always been against NAFTA. That's a joke. In her book, Living History, she said the thing that's great about NAFTA is it gives us the benefits of globalization and not the burden. She must have been talking about unemployment benefits, because that's the only thing NAFTA has done.
She called the Trans-Pacific Partnership the gold standard when she was Secretary of State, and spoke positively about that very trade deal at least 45 times based on the Wall Street Journal's count. I want to ask you about that 45% tariff that Donald Trump originally threw out, say I'm going to put a tariff on imported Chinese goods.
Right.
He has not talked about that. Can we say he's backed away from that?
Here's what he actually said. He said, if it turns out that the Chinese have been manipulating their currency by as much as 45%, and if they don't want to negotiate, it may become necessary to threaten them with as much as a 45% tariff.
All right.
The same Associated Press that Hillary now claims is attacking her misquoted him.
All right, well, we know the email situation is a big problem. Julie, I want to get your take as well as Wilbur's on this. The RNC releasing a new video attacking Hillary Clinton for failing to turn over thousands of work-related emails. Let's listen and get your response.
And provided all my emails that could possibly be work-related.
Well, what I say to that is I turned over everything I was obligated to turn over, and then I moved on.
This morning that there are 15,000 new unreleased emails.
And now the State Department has everything that they could have.
You just can't get that out of your mind, Julie. They told us we had everything, that she had turned over everything. And then there's a new batch of emails.
It's a good ad. It's not an effective ad. And let me take off my partisan hat and put on what I do for a living hat, which is think about ads that actually affect people. What people want to hear about from both these candidates is how they're going to affect your life as a voter. If you think Hillary Clinton's a crook, and you think Hillary Clinton is a liar, and you think she's been misleading the American public, you're not voting for her. You are never voting for her. That's already baked in. She's been around for 30 years. This ad, what this ad does is it speaks to the echo chamber. What it doesn't do is speak to independent voters who haven't yet decided whom they're voting for. There are not many of them, and how they're going to be, their lives are going to be improved by Donald Trump or by Hillary Clinton.
Wilbur, Hillary's striking right back. Hillary Clinton's campaign is out with an attack ad of its own featuring a small business owner and slamming Donald Trump for his outsourcing practices. Listen.
This factory has been here since 1883. We have over 60 people here making shirts labeled Made in America. But Donald Trump's brand of shirts come from China, his suits from Mexico, his coats from India.
Wilbur?
Well, that's certainly true, and what's forced that to happen are the terrible trade agreements that we have. Anybody in business has to find cheap source of material. That shouldn't surprise anyone. What's wrong is having trade agreements that force that kind of behavior because the American companies have no alternative. That's what's wrong with our trade policy.
I want to point something out because I've discussed these ads with people where the Hillary Clinton campaign hits Donald Trump on where his products were made, his ties. They do it to bait him, because they know that that doesn't really resonate with voters. They're doing it to bait him. So has Donald Trump, is he the new Trump where he's not going to take that bait?
Well, look, Hillary Clinton has outsourced getting money to overseas people, from people in Ukraine, people in Bangladesh, places like that. Which is better? The Secretary of State's foundation taking money from dicey countries like that?
I gotta just respond to this really quickly, because the difference here is, sir, that what that ad does is talk about how real people are affected by Donald Trump. What it doesn't do, what Donald Trump's ad doesn't do, or what you're saying right now doesn't do, is real people don't care where their money's coming from. It's not affecting their lives. I do, because I look at polling.
To somebody, before we go, who is advising Trump, why do you think that Hillary keeps gaining on him in the polls? Why is he struggling there?
Well, she's spending an awful lot of money on TV ads. That certainly helps. I don't know how many hundreds of millions she's already spent, but it's certainly many times.
Is there anything he's doing wrong, though?
I think in the early stages of the campaign, he had some self-inflicted wounds by not sticking to message. I think you're seeing that that's changed. But
all right. We have to leave it there, Wilbur.
Okay.
It's very good of you to be here this morning.